سلام.
امروز میخوایم راجع به یکی از عجیب ترین پرونده های آدم خواری توی آلمان و کل دنیا صحبت کنیم که راجع به مردیه که
یه نفر رو کشته و خورده.
یعنی در واقع اون شخص خورده شده گفته بیا منو بخور.
بیا منو بخور.
گفته من میخورم. بیا بخورش.
گرفته شوخی و همینجور تا رفته.
آره این آدم کسی بوده که مهندس کامپیوتر بوده، توی خونه خیلی بزرگ روستایی زندگی میکردن با مامانش، باباش و داداشش ولش میکنن، مامانش هم خیلی
آدم سلطه‌جو
سلیطه‌ای بوده.
سلطه‌جو آدم
آره.
مشکلداری بوده دیگه.
قفلی بوده و خیلی بد روی این اثر گذاشته رفتارش. حالا تا کجا؟ تا این خیلی خوب پیش میره، ننه مواظبت میکنه،
سنش میره بالا، این خب بالاخره یه موجود عجیب غریبی میشه دیگه. بعد باگی که این دوستمون میده تو سنین بالا این بوده که دوست داره بخوره همه رو. بعد کلا میره با یه سری آدم رفیق میشه تو این کلابای مربوط به خوردن و خورده شدن فروم. دقیقا. بعد میره یه جا میبینه یه چت گروپ بوده.
نه میگفته که مثلا یه سری تبلیغ میذاشتن، حدود مثلا 400 500 تا تبلیغ بوده. یکیش یه آقای بوده به اسم مهندس، تبلیغو میبینه، بعد میبینه اون زنی که گفته بیا منو بخور. بعد اینم گفته اوکی میام میخورن، گفته اوکی بیا بخورش،
قرار میذارن و بعد این پا میشه میره با هم میرن توی آپارتمان و بعد یکی از اعضای بدن اون یکی اون خورده شدنه رو میبره. بعد با هم سرخ میکنن و میزنن تو رگ. بعد این داشمون که دارشمون نیست البته میرفته دقیقا پا میشه میره اون بعد تو اتاق کتاب استارترک میخونه. این خیالش هم نبوده اون یکی هم میره
وان هموم شده
رنگشو میزنه. دقیقا. بعد تا این رفیقم استارترکشو بخونه و
میاد. بعد تهش مثلا یه چند بار مکس میکنه، بعد گلوه یارو رو میبره و بعد حالا میمونه با یه جسد. بعد میگه خب چیکار کنم؟ دوباره میره تو همون سایت مایتا و یه سایت پیدا میکنه که چطوری یه آدمو سلاخی کنن. میره میخونه و میاد اینو آویزون میکنه، تیکه تیکه میکنه، حالا هر روشی، و میذارتش تو فریزرش. بعد تو اون یه سالی که از این خوردنه تا گرفته شدنش اتفاق افتاده 20 کیلو از یارو رو خورده. حالا از کجاشو خورده ما نمیدونیم، ولی 20 کیلوشو خورده.
یه سال خیلی جالب 20 کیلوشو سالم نگه داشته.
آره خورده دیگه. و چجوری حالا میگیرنش؟
یه دانشجو اتریشی میاد با این،
اونم مریضی بوده.
اونم مریض بوده ولی نه در این سطح. دقیقاً. میاد با این شروع میکنه حالا چت کردن با هم. بعد این صحبتش پیش میاد که آره تجربه آدم خوردن دارم. این دانشجوه میگه واقعا یاره دارم تجربهشو
تو اولی نیستی.
دقیقاً. این دیگه جدی میگیره و زنگ میزنه پلیس.
اونا هم
آلمان.
آره اونا هم میان و با سگمگ و اینا. حالا خیلی جالبه اونجا که میفهمن یه زنی تو تیم پلیس بوده، اون گوشت رو دیده، گفته این گوشت مثلا بیف و استیک و اینا نیست، یعنی یه سری گوشت قاطی کرده گوشت رو. اون زن شناخته بردن آزمایش گرفتن، دیدن بله این خودشو میگیرن.
گاوی و گوسفند قاطی میزده
رو. بعد حالا این بعد اینکه میگیرنش اول دادگاه میبرن. بعد تو این دادگاه حالا آلمان یا حالا اصلا فکر کنم هیچ کشوری اصلا قانونی راجع به آدمخواری نداری. اینم چون 4 ساعت از این موضوع ویدیو گرفته بوده کامل و این ویدیو فقط 20 دقیقه‌اش تو دادگاه نشون داده شد، چون خیلی خشن بود. گفتن آقا این راضی بوده دیگه، خودش اومده 8 سال و نیم برای این زندان بمونه.
این راضی و اون راضی چیکار داره؟
ناراضی
واقعا. بعد هیچی دیگه
8.5 سال میدن و بعد دوباره در
میان یه باگ میدن که آقا نه این چرا آزارش
کشته دیگه بابا،
آدم کشته. حالا بلکه اون طرف حالا گفته بیا منو بخور.
من میگم بیا منو بخور تو بیا بخوری.
آره در گربه بازه حیاتی. بعد خلاصه دیگه طرفو دوباره میگیرن و یه مستندی هم ازش میسازن.
آره و قشنگ صحبت میکنه ریلکس، حالات میبینه جلوتر که چه اوکیه. و یه چیزم راجع به اون یارو بگیم، اون یکی هم بچگی مشکلایی داشته، مامانش خودکشی کرده اول مثلا 6 7 سالش بوده. بابا هم به خاطر گرایش جنسی پسر از خونه میندازه بیرون و خیلی حالا اتفاقات جالبی میفته. دیگه بیشتر از این حرف نزنیم، بذاریم بچه‌ها ببینن. بچه‌ها فقط قبلش مرسی که ما حمایت میکنید. من هر دفعه میگم سابسکرایب کردن شما خیلی کمک میکنه و تنها چیزی هم که نیاز دارید
ممنونم.
اکانت جیمیله. با اکانت جیمیل لاگین شید، راحت میتونید سابسکرایب کنید که هر ویدیویی ما میذاریم سریع بفهمید و بتونید راحت ببینیدش. مرسی.
خیلی ممنون.
My name Armin Maivis. I was born 1961. I'm computer engineer from Rothenburg, Germany. I killed a man, slaughtered him and ate him. Since then, he is always with me. We've been emailing and chatting on the internet since January, and we talked about exactly what he would happen. Bernd had very bizarre ideas and guidelines how he had planned his end. When he actually stepped off the train, I was nervous and excited.
And then we are coming into the room where Mr. Maivis slaughtered Mr. Brandes.
When the body is to be eaten, it has to be dead, that's clear. Then he was screamed horribly, but relatively short, maybe for 20-30 seconds. The blood was quilting from the open wound, similar to a fountain.
Armin Maivis was suffering from a severe sexual preference disorder, or so-called paraphilia, but was perfectly able to control his impulses.
He often came and looked after the children. The children were always happy when he came, and they had fun with him. I trusted him completely. And also, after everything that's happened, I would still trust him with my children any time.
What kind of person would willingly sacrifice himself to the perverted fantasies of another man? Armin Maivis had an uneventful childhood. He lived with his parents and two half-brothers in Essen. But most weekends and school holidays were spent here in this house in Rothenburg.
We'd build tree houses, play cops and robbers and Indians, everything that was fun, or we'd chop down trees. It was lovely, really.
Maivis was like most other children his age. A boy who loved animals and found country life idyllic. But when he was just 8 years old, this idyll shattered. It was late summer 1969. Maivis was playing with the children next door when he heard his father drive off.
Worst was the moment when my father left our family. My father simply drove away with the car. I was running after the car, wanting to stop him. I screamed, but he simply drove away, not even looking into the rear-view mirror. That was a very traumatic experience for me.
His two half-brothers also left home soon afterwards. Maivis missed all three of them, desperately.
Now I was the only man in the house, and I felt myself responsible for both houses and for my mother. This burden, which I took upon myself, was a heavy one to bear, and I wanted to share it with a younger brother. I'd always longed for a younger brother anyway, because I wanted to share with him the love and affection that my older brother had shown me.
But with his mother already 50, he knew that this was impossible. And after 3 failed marriages, she had no desire for another relationship.
She completely withdrew. She was probably also worried that if she started another relationship, they would leave her again.
When his father left, he also emptied the bank accounts. And for Waltraud Maivis, it was a financial as well as an emotional struggle.
She used to cry, and she didn't know how we were going to carry on.
His mother was a very domineering woman, as far as I can tell, and from what Maivis has said. I think his mother controlled him, and Maivis was the kind of man who let himself be controlled by his mother. She forced him, really, and Maivis had to go along with it.
Auch mitmachen müssen.
He wanted to feel connected to them, that they should be a part of him.
And then I thought that if they were to become a part of me, I'd have to eat them.
Muss ich ihn halt aufessen.
While he was in the army, he even felt confident enough to apply to a marriage bureau, which put him in touch with a woman called Petra. The two started seeing each other and were, he claims, even engaged. But it didn't last.
On the one hand, I wanted to be with someone, but I never found the right woman. And when the engagement broke down, I said to myself, okay, I don't need this anymore. She'd had a heart attack in the night, and the day before she'd complained of a pain in her arm. I didn't think anything of it.
When his mother died, the last person who kind of controlled him was gone.
After the death of my mother, I'd had a good look at internet sites that had to do with death. And around this time I'd somehow stumbled on cannibal sites, cannibal chat rooms. I took a good look at them and thought they were just fantasy. But there are so many ads you couldn't believe it. There were people offering themselves to be eaten and were looking for people to eat them.
That as boys, both did not receive the emotional acceptance by their parents that one needs.
Bernd Brandes.
Bernd Brandes. I'd replied to an ad he put on the internet. The strapline was dinner or your dinner, and the text was, I'm offering you the chance to eat me alive. Who really wants it needs a genuine victim. He wanted to experience the ultimate high, and for him, that was to be eaten alive. That for him would be ultimate bliss. He got into the bath, into the water, and was happy because the blood was spurting from his open wound, just like a fountain. Also, as before, difficult as it is to believe, he was happy because he was lying in his own blood. I hesitated for a long time. I prayed and even kissed him on the mouth. Then I took the knife, grasped it in my hand, and after hesitating some more, I cut his throat with it.
He'd found sites on the web on how to slaughter a human being, and had been preparing for this moment for most of his life.
The flesh was secured, the flesh of Brandes, horribly enough, but this is where it was stored.
An diesem Tisch hier hat
It was on this table that Maivis ate parts of Brandes.
The first bite was, of course, very strange. It was a feeling I can't really describe.
Searching the internet for another willing victim. When a young Austrian student emailed to ask how many boys he'd slaughtered, Maivis replied, "Let's just say I've got experience. In any case, you wouldn't be the first." The student reported him to the police. 5 months later, they turned up in Rothenburg with a search warrant. Due to the consensual nature of the crime, Maivis was convicted of manslaughter and sentenced to 8.5 years in prison. However, after an appeal by the prosecution and a retrial, he was found guilty of murder. Yet the video was so shocking that only 19 minutes out of 4 hours was shown to the jury. Whether Maivis regrets what he has done is debatable.
Today, I know that what I did was wrong. That this can never be the right way. The wishes, the fantasies you have,